They're going after you because you...
Also für alle, die das jetzt nicht checken, das ist alles fake. Der ganze Raum, alles ist fake. Die Person, die da steht, der ganze Raum, alle Menschen, die da sitzen, das existiert nicht. Jo Leute, willkommen zu einem weiteren Video. Ihr seht schon im Titel, AI geht zu weit. Mein Video an Simplicissimus oder irgendein Channel, die Dokus macht und Sachen aufarbeitet und erklärt. Weil es gibt eine Sache und ich habe es letztens in meinem AI-Reaction-Video zu dem Kurzgesagt-Video einmal kurz gesagt. Und ich habe mich nochmal ganz kurz ein bisschen damit befasst. Und zwar geht es darum, dass es Personen gibt, die einfach nicht echt sind. Also sie gibt es nicht. Aber Leute denken, dass es sie gibt. Und ich finde es sehr beängstigend, das zu sehen. Denn die sehen sehr menschlich aus und irgendwie redet darüber keiner. Und man glaubt halt, dass das... Ich muss halt aufpassen, was ich sage, weil das ja sehr schwurbelig und Aluhutmäßig klingen könnte. Aber es gibt auf jeden Fall einige Leute, die das schon so dadurch geschaut haben. Und ich will euch mal nur zeigen, so wie die Zukunft aussehen könnte. Und wenn darüber nicht mal langsam berichtet wird, dass Leute das einfach verstehen, was AI halt machen kann, wozu es fähig ist. Und das möchte ich euch einmal zeigen. Der geheime Internetkult, Dr. Egon, Cholakian und AllatRa. Das wird euch, glaube ich, komplett verwirren. Deswegen macht euch ready. Gibt es leider nicht übersetzt. Wir können es nur auf Englisch gucken. Ich hoffe, die Leute sind der englischen Sprache mächtig. Wie gesagt, ich hoffe halt Simplicissimus oder irgendein Doku-Wissensformat nimmt sich dem an und dickt da mal ein bisschen deep und erklärt das mal ein bisschen auf Deutsch, damit die Leute checken, was hier auf der Welt abgeht. Auch AI-mäßig, dass das Internet echt langsam verseucht ist und dass man es auch einfach verstehen sollte. Ja, let's go. Wir gehen mal rein.
Thursday, August 29th, 9:14 p.m. That was at the exact time that I found myself browsing through the r/internet mysteries subreddit when I came across a post titled AI-generated fake YouTubers are now a thing and they are super scary. The post was made by a user going by the name Misturazap, and admittedly English is not his first language, so I will paraphrase what he says. Egon Cholakian is supposed to be a person with a lot of influence in the United States government, but he never existed, and everything about him is just odd or weird in some way. He has a YouTube channel which he only speaks directly to the camera without breaking eye contact once. He speaks without pause about the geopolitical state of our world, and he does not move. He will seriously sit perfectly still for over 3.5 hours without ever moving his hands. It truly feels like an episode of Black Mirror. Even after reading OP's post, I was severely...
Also ich übersetze einmal ganz kurz. Also diese Person, der Dr. Egon Cholakian, ist ein Fake-YouTuber, ein Fake-Mensch. Diese Person gibt es nicht, die Bilder sind fake. Er sitzt dort, er bewegt sich nicht. 3 Stunden lang redet er direkt zur Kamera und bewegt seine Hände nicht und redet über die geopolitische Lage in unserer Welt.
Severely skeptical of the claims made. Going further into his post, even more outlandish claims were being thrown out. That this guy could be the front of a Russian propaganda machine. He even goes on to talk about CIA psyops. All of those things to me are way farther down the rabbit hole than I ever care to travel. And it made me almost dismiss his post right off the bat. But there was one detail in his post that I did not mention. And upon seeing it for myself, that was the true catalyst behind Egon Cholakian's entry into the Lancaster Library.
Also er soll die Fotos von dem Typen halt genauer angucken mäßig und vor allem auf den Hintergrund achten. Und sich die Menschen genau angucken, die in dem Foto sind. Okay, Leute, macht euch ready, ja, das geht wirklich deep, die Scheiße. Also, ich will nur das, also für mich ist das wichtig, dass man das einfach weiß, weil das ist ja die Realität. Das ist ja nicht irgendwas, was ausgedacht ist oder so, also was ich mir ausdenke, sondern das passiert wirklich. Es gibt AIs, die das anscheinend machen. Wer kontrolliert die? Was ist das? Was steht da? Library no facial detection. Okay, ich verstehe es nicht, aber man sieht auf jeden Fall kein Gesicht, ja.
They don't have any names.
Na, die Bücher haben keine Namen.
What is this?
Seht ihr? Ist das da mit dem Finger da? Oder ich check das nicht. Was meinen die? Boah, sieht das gruselig aus. Ich schwöre, das sieht so krank aus. What the fuck? Digga, was sind das für... Das sind alles Bots, Alter. Die gibt's alle nicht, oder? Bro, come on. Ah, das ist der gleiche. Ach, das ist die... Ah. Ach, krass, okay. Okay, sie existiert und er... Aber er halt nicht, der Linke nicht. Und sie wurde einfach reingeballert. Bro, das ist so gruselig. Ich schwöre, das ist so gruselig. Digga, was geht hier ab auf der Welt, Mann? Also, es ist bewiesen, das Bild ist bearbeitet mäßig. Okay, das ist Chapter 1, die Earth Safe Science Collaborative. Das ist der Channel, auf dem diese Videos publiziert werden von dieser AI-Persönlichkeit.
Dr. Egon Cholakian, who simply goes by Egon Cholakian, is the face and supposed founder of the Earth Save Science Collaborative. The video you just saw of his face artificially edited onto a version of George Washington was posted on his official channel mere hours after the production of this film started, along with the other 8 hours of his film's runtime. A film where Cholakian, or the AI voice he has reading the script, goes on about the threat of a United States Civil War, the brainwashing of cultism, which will be ironic later on, and how climate change, expedited by the information that now he solely possesses, will be the catalyst for the end of the world.
The result? A chain reaction. Over 1 million billion atoms.
To quote another Redditor on the r/Internet Mysteries Reddit, named the GTA5P, who is Egon Cholakian? Well, this is where it starts to get pretty weird. This guy lists many credentials on his channel. What's strange about them is that they are all over the place. How can a person be a lobbyist, then become a national security expert and a particle physicist? Not only that, but how has he worked with so many big organizations such as CERN in the United States government? The guy also claims to have worked for various presidents such as Richard Nixon and George Bush. In another video, he goes on to name 2 more.
Ronald Reagan.
Gerald R. Ford.
What is strange is if you Google him, barely any official information about him pops up. There's no Wikipedia page detailing his contributions, nor are there any official websites talking about him. And when you Google his name, a weird LinkedIn profile pops up.
Also ihr müsst euch vorstellen, diese Person hat angeblich irgendwelche Auszeichnungen, war da aktiv, im Weißen Haus aktiv, kennt die Person und die Person hat einen Doktortitel und wenn man diese Person googelt, gibt es nichts bei Wikipedia dazu. Anscheinend nur ein komischer LinkedIn-Eintrag.
Under this profile, he apparently has a lot of experience, yet there are barely any details on it. Many of the stuff listed will say, under construction. Another thing is he strikingly has a chock-full education section. Reading through some of it, it appears he attended these schools in a relatively small time frame. In fact, it shows that he was enrolled in multiple programs at multiple schools at the same time. And most of it is recent, but yet his experience section is almost all the way incomplete. Even on his own website, he claims that he is intimately involved with corresponding AI, direct energy warfare, and defense acquisition communities. AI acquisition communities. But his background, experience, people he supposedly worked for, and their corresponding organizations I have a hard time believing he did any of it, especially when there's proof of doctored photos and use of AI to convey these very facts. You just heard it, word for word, on his own website that he's intimately involved in AI companies and acquiring them. But the question begs, is Dr. Egon Cholakian even real? Watching some of his videos and going through hours and hours of footage, I had my doubts. It's not natural for a human to stay still for several hours at a time, keeping direct eye contact and never slurring any words, almost as if he's reading off of some type of script, or the AI is anyway.
It's a kind of artificial intelligence that has been made possible.
I was becoming adamant that this man was not a man at all, until I found one damning piece of evidence to the contrary. A smaller channel called What the Hack uploaded a video during the pandemic titled Panel Discussion with Egon Cholakian. In the video, we get our first look at Cholakian without the immense amounts of editing and enhancements seen in his
Für die Leute, die nicht verstehen, er ist sehr sicher, dass die Person fake ist, aber jetzt gibt es anscheinend einen Beweis, dass er doch echt ist. Und das war irgendwie in der Corona-Zeit wohl.
uploads to the Earth Save Science Collaborative YouTube channel. And when you watch it, he seems, well, normal.
How you doing?
Well, how about yourself?
Just peachy. I figured I'd step in early and just hang my hat. While there's a huge demand for education at this very second, the most difficult challenge is educating the educators.
His speaking is very natural and he moves completely normal. Leave it to me to state the obvious, but he's a real human being. So that's it then, the end of the rabbit hole. Just a man who wants to make himself appear more accomplished by photoshopping prestigious people into his photos and putting a bunch of achievements on his social media profiles. Well, that should have been the end of it, but to my surprise, it wasn't.
Also er hat jetzt gedacht, okay gut, jetzt ist die Person anscheinend doch echt. Er will anscheinend sich ein bisschen boosten im Internet, deswegen photoshoppt er sich anscheinend nur neben ein paar Personen und so, aber jetzt anscheinend dann doch
Not
nicht.
even close.
Es geht weiter.
We'll return after these messages.
Acknowledgement that the internet makes bold assumptions based on strings of weakly based evidence and call it a day. But I didn't. The thought was still lingering in my head that the photos he was using were still doctored and that there had to be more lies below the surface and that this story still did not have a logical conclusion. Now that I knew Egon Cholakian was in fact a real person and not the work of an advanced AI, I began to dig deeper into further research about Cholakian, which is where I found yet another Reddit post from a user going by the name of ALLES. In this post, he does a deep dive into Cholakian's so-called esteemed background. In this post, he includes an SEC violation order against Cholakian from the 1970s for a plethora of violations, including the following one that states that Cholakian circulated or distributed advertisements which contain untrue statements of material fact and which omitted to state facts concerning, among other things, his educational and business background. Not only did the modern internet call out Cholakian for his fraudulent background and lies, but so did the SEC all the way back in the 1970s. On top of that, the poster went into a deep dive into his quote-unquote research papers listed under his profiles. Both of the research papers that OP did a deep dive in were in fact credited to an A. Cholakian, except to one that attended Sharif University of Technology in Tehran, Iran. Upon looking at the full research paper, the true researcher credited is one Arpane Cholakian. Egon Cholakian is a fraud. And the original poster goes deeply into the other ways he has artificially bolstered his resume on the back of total strangers who did not consent to the theft of their hard work. Yet, I continued to dig deeper. That's when I came across another video of Cholakian at a conference for a group called AllatRa.
Why are they going after AllatRa? Why are they? Who are they? I get upset because they're not economists. They're going after you because you
Also für alle, die das jetzt nicht checken. Das ist alles fake. Diese ganze Scheiße da,
are
das alles ist
somebody,
fake.
not because you're nobody. Get that in your minds. You've achieved something that makes you a good
Moment.
target.
The name
Nochmal. Der ganze Raum. Alles ist fake. Die Person, die da steht, der ganze Raum, alle Menschen, die da sitzen, das existiert nicht. Und das finde ich so verrückt. Ich finde das so krank, weil was sind das für Möglichkeiten? Ey, das ganze Internet ist so guckt. Wir sind alle, also das war's. Wenn man hier nicht mal aufklärt jetzt und wenn es da nicht irgendwie Gesetze für gibt, ey, das wird verrückt, das wird noch so schlimm werden. Allein schon jetzt diese Bubbles durch TikTok und so, dass jeder irgendwie denkt, er ist im Recht und jeder fühlt sich bestätigt, weil er nur in seiner Bubble hängt und so. Wenn jetzt noch so viele Fake-Informationen dazukommen mit vermeintlichen echten Menschen, die es nicht gibt, dann, ey, yo, das wird so verrückt, Alter.
They're going after you because you are somebody, not because you're nobody. Get that in your minds. You've achieved something that makes you a good target.
The name sounded familiar to me immediately because I knew them as a cult.
Briefly about the AllatRa International Public Movement. Currently, the coordination center of the AllatRa International Public Movement is located in Kiev, Ukraine. Global social projects aimed at strengthening of universal spiritual and moral values in the world society popularize the best side of Ukraine through its honest citizens, participants of the AllatRa International Public Movement.
Das erinnert mich so geistkrank an Scientology und ich habe mich mit Scientology auch schon beschäftigt und ich war auch schon mal im Scientology-Gebäude und habe mich da ganz lange mit Leuten unterhalten, weil ich das so spannend fand und so verrückt finde. Wenn ihr das mal wissen wollt, da kann ich mal darüber ein Video machen, was ich da erfahren habe und was da passiert ist und so, weil es war wirklich krank. Also ihr müsst euch vorstellen, es gibt wirklich so Sachen auf der Welt, wenn man das nicht weiß, dann man lebt da dran vorbei und so. Aber wenn man das so mal so checkt, es gibt einfach Leute, die brainwashen einfach andere und das funktioniert auch und die machen das mit ganz bestimmten Methoden und die brechen dich und die flößen dir was ein in deinen Kopf. Also jetzt nicht mit OP oder so, sondern halt wirklich Worte, die was in deinem Kopf bewegen. Ich kann euch so viel erzählen, das ist so verrückt. Also ich habe mir schon einige Sachen reingecrackt.
Popularize the best side of Ukraine.
Popularize the best side of Ukraine. Little did I know that this tiny promotional snippet would open yet another door to something that I could not have anticipated when I began this research. Now, to confirm Mr. Cholakian's ties to AllatRa, a YouTube channel going by the name of Meme Ranch was able to secure a rare phone call interview with Egon Cholakian. The call transcript itself, as well as a link to their channel, will be provided in the description down below. At a certain point within the phone call, he outright confirms his ties with AllatRa and that his entire YouTube channel is based on the ideas and beliefs of the AllatRa cult.
Who's your production team?
They have these people that I'm not involved with that. I'm just the guy in front of the camera, not the guy behind the camera. Those questions are just out of my league, to be very candid with you.
Like, are you kind of like independent? Like, and like, does like Creative Society and like AllatRa just like look into your like coverage? Like, what is like the connection between like all of that? Because I mean, like, as far as I understand, like Creative Society has like a lot of videos that like promote you and things like that, and then I don't really know too much about AllatRa. I just kind of got into that last night, but that's a whole rabbit hole.
Well, that's the essence is AllatRa. It is the predecessor, and that's your the beginning, literally the beginning. That I'm trying to give the biblical sense, but anyway, so you're dealing with one of the same players. And I am their registered foreign agent on Capitol Hill. You probably know that.
Right.
And also their registered lobbyist on Capitol Hill.
And so you wholeheartedly believe, like, the things that you profess, that there's, like, that in the next, like, 5 to 7-ish years, like, there could be, like, a world-breaking moment that happens for us, like, on a scale that we aren't fully prepared for, right?
Beautifully put. Thank you.
Anders.
The one thing I could find that he really wasn't lying about is he is an officially registered lobbyist through the United States Congress and Capitol Hill, but once again, through the AllatRa organization. Through Cholakian's work on Capitol Hill, he was actually able to secure a United States candidate for president to run under the influence of AllatRa, named Robbie Wells. But what is AllatRa? AllatRa was founded as a movement back in 2014 in the Ukraine by a man going by Halanya Yablachkina, which is a pseudonym for Anastasia Novaka, and a former coal miner, Ihor Danilov, who calls himself Holy Spirit. According to various religious scholars, the movement is a sect of pseudoscientific destructionists that practices hidden psychological violence, believes in the existence of extraterrestrial aliens, worships the Russian Kremlin, Vladimir Putin, and believes in a special Slavic mission to save the world from destruction. This sect has been labeled so dangerous that the Ukraine has banned its existence. And despite their undying support of the Russian Kremlin Vladimir Putin, the Russian Office of the Prosecutor General has declared the activities of AllatRa undesirable in the country. This to me is something truly baffling. When you have two sides at current war with one another, agreeing on one thing, that the AllatRa cult is dangerous and undesirable. So much so that the AllatRa headquarters were raided as a part of a Ukrainian-led investigation into AllatRa.
What the fuck?
More photographic evidence from the raid points out some really weird objects and pseudo-religious paraphernalia. In an unblurred version of this photo, a Make America Great Again hat can be visibly seen on top of the piles of books that were collected during the raid. But if anyone watching this knows anything more about that painting, I would love to know about it. Included next to the painting are more things relating to Vladimir Putin. The doctrine on the floor are the volumes of the Sensei of Shambhala, which is the founding doctrine of the AllatRa cult. Ukraine authorities can also be seen making a detainment or an arrest on one of the members. But perhaps most interestingly, as also seen in the video, is this silver pyramid thing. To be honest, when I first saw the footage and these photos, I was kind of taken aback by what it could be. It seems to be some kind of chamber, reflective with a chair inside, but the person sitting in it completely in darkness. Naturally, I began to dig a little more into it. And I know I've
Was ist das? Was ist das? Was ist diese Pyramide, Digga? Hä?
said this a lot, but it somehow gets weirder. This device was part of AllatRa's pyramid experiment, where the apex of the pyramid is supposed to transmit your consciousness around the surrounding area through the four aspects or sides of the pyramid. They believe that humans can transmit their thoughts, that through our field of consciousness, we as human beings are capable of telepathy. Even more evidence can be found of this through an official video on one of the AllatRa YouTube channels. They showed the beginning of one of these pyramid experiments.
Good afternoon. Today is April 28th, 2018, and we have gathered
Also sie denken, wenn sich da Leute reinsetzen, können die telepathisch ihre Gedanken übertragen.
in the office of the Coordination Center of AllatRa International Public Movement. We have gathered here today to conduct the first international pyramid experiment, the goal of which is to determine the possibility of transmitting information telepathically at a distance. The point of the experiment is as follows. We have chosen 12 symbols for the experiment, which are now in front of us. And before the experiment begins, we will choose one of the symbols randomly. The operator will look and memorize this symbol, and then at 5 p.m. GMT, which is 8 p.m. Kiev time, she will go into the pyramid and will be transmitting this symbol for half an hour. That being said, we have ascertained the functionality and capabilities of the pyramid apparatus. Altogether, we are fully satisfied with the course of the experiment.
I wanted to bring us back to where this whole thing started, with one Egon Cholakian. I could have never imagined that a simple Reddit post into some altered photos and a supposed AI-generated man could lead to a Ukrainian-based, Russian-supporting, Kremlin-worshipping, natural disaster cult that believes in the power of human telepathy. I was prepared to end this video on that note alone, but it seemed like this case had one more twist left in it. That twist being an attempt being made to end Egon Cholakian's life.
They're going after you because you are somebody, not because you're nobody. Get that in your minds.
Latest statement from the national security expert, Dr. Egon Cholakian. Know that he also mentioned the plans being made to eliminate him. Just before this broadcast, we received reliable information from trustworthy sources that the group assigned to assassinate him was apprehended by special services at the preparation phase, and they are now closely cooperating in the investigation and giving testimony. I even have a photo of this group's arrest. I have photos of what was found with them. Sniper pistols, other firearms, and money.
I will start out by saying I have no direct evidence to disprove what was stated on AllatRa TV. However, I would like to point out that this quote-unquote assassination attempt was said to have taken place when Egon's story began to go viral. I have done plenty of research for this film, including a supposed attempt on Egon's life. Ukrainian, Russian, and United States jurisdictions, I was not able to find any sort of evidence to show that there were any individuals that were apprehended and charged by the respective local authorities. The only logical explanation besides that AllatRa made the whole thing up is that it is an ongoing investigation somehow, even though they were caught red-handed with weapons at the scene of a crime and seemed to have confessed to what they were trying to do, supposedly. But even then, if it was still an active and ongoing investigation, any authority in any country would advise for any evidence, photos, or media not be released to the public until the investigation has been completed. Something that in this theory, AllatRa has chosen not to do, which leads me to the most logical conclusion. This was all fabricated and yet another lie. And the article I was going to use to reference this attempt taken on his life was quickly taken down by Medium, and the account posting it was suspended. The only remnants of evidence of this attempt occurring is what you have just saw through AllatRa TV. I will not say it is not possible. However, we have to look at the track record of both Egon Cholakian and the AllatRa organization, falsified photographs, end-of-the-world prophecies, Cholakian's ban from the SEC over violations of falsifying his own experience, his theft of scientific research, and their strange obsession with the spirit realm and telepathy leads me to believe this attempt did not happen. I, along with the production team, wish to find evidence to the contrary to present to you further, and if there is an update, we will do so. But until then, the case of AllatRa and Egon Cholakian will be archived and stored in the halls of the Lancaster Library.
Okay, die haben da geschrieben und haben keine Antwort erhalten. Okay, das war's mit dem Video. Leute, Ich muss einfach sagen, ich bin komplett verwirrt. Schickt das bitte Simplicissimus. Bitte, bitte, bitte schickt das irgendwelchen Newsportalen, irgendwelchen Doku-Menschen, irgendwelchen journalistischen Menschen, die das irgendwie aufarbeiten können und dem Volk näher bringen können, weil ich finde es extrem wichtig. Schreibt in die Kommentare, was ihr davon haltet. Pusht das Video, teilt es mit euren Freunden. Schreibt ganz viele Kommentare. Schreibt mir auch unbedingt eure Meinung dazu. Achtet darauf, dass hier vielleicht irgendwelche Bots kommen, die diese ganze Verschwörungstheorie irgendwie verteidigen, weil das ist auf jeden Fall schon passiert. Das werdet ihr bei einem anderen Video sehen. Ich lade 2 Videos dazu hoch. Und ja, Leute, ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Wie gesagt, haut rein. Folgt auf meinen Socials. Ich bin raus. Peace. Anna ist der Squad.